put aside your view of lawyers. We're not all bad. One of the things I want to talk to you about is ways the legal community can help the disability community. And we, through organizations like Florida Legal Services and Legal Services of Greater Miami, have taken on the state whenever they've denied treatment to the developmentally disabled. This is my favorite one for the medical community. When I talk to doctors, I use that one. This is what most people think of lawyers, but I'm here to tell you that we can do good as well. The case that Aleda told you about was a true team effort, and I don't want to stand up here and take full credit for it. Florida Legal Services and Legal Services of Greater Miami tried the case along with me, and this was a case basically in which the state was refusing to provide ABA services for all autistic children on Medicaid in the state of Florida. 8,500 children were being denied the opportunity to receive ABA. And so we sued the state. We had expert witnesses from all over the country. John Bailey, who was at Florida State University, who has the behavior analyst program there. Jim Mulick at Ohio State. Alexander Lorenzo, who's no longer here in Miami, but was a board-certified behavior analyst. And the head of pediatric neurology at Miami Children's Hospital, Dr. Elza Vasconcelos, some of you may know her, and Dr. Lopez Alvarola, who's also a pediatric neurologist. And we can't forget our judge, who we have to give thanks to, who at the end of her order, basically after being on the bench for 16 years, said that this was, if not the most important case she'd ever tried. And I've been trying cases for 20 years. I've never shed a tear in the courtroom, but I have to tell you, everybody in the courtroom started a little bit of the tears coming down when we realized what we were able to accomplish for all those children. No thanks to the ACA, who was our Florida State agency. As I've always said, the problem with government is that it has no natural predators, so we have to try and go after it to save the day. I'll tell you a little bit about the case, because one of the things you're going to hear a lot today is about the science and treatment modalities and how we can treat this condition and treat autism and deal with applied behavior analysis, which is one of the proven effective treatments. When we put on our case, this is the evidence we have. You have all these organizations that have said ABA, applied behavior analysis, is the proven effective treatment for autism. And what we need to do is take the 8,500 new recipients of ABA in Florida now, along with all the other recipients, and collect data to see how to improve our treatment. You always can get better. I mean, the day I feel that I can't improve is the day to put me 6 feet under. We can always get better, we can always make things get better, and so collecting data now that we have this population and we've got this opportunity in Florida to get this treatment is critical. And all these organizations we were able to put on at trial, we had the testimony that it is the standard of care. And if you don't get ABA therapy, if you don't get therapy, the outlook isn't good. And that's what we tried to tell the judge. In fact, Dr. Vasconcelos, who's the head of pediatric neurology, actually testified when I put her on the stand. I asked her, Dr. Vasconcelos, if a pediatric neurologist does not prescribe ABA for an autistic child, does that constitute medical malpractice? She said yes. Because you at least have to start with that. You have to look into that. It doesn't work for everybody, but you got to start there. And we have to build through the research we have and through what we can learn on other treatment modalities. At the end of the judge's opinion, she actually asked how many kids were lost because we didn't give this treatment. Dr. Lopez Alvarola testified that if you don't get it by age 7, the curve really drops. You can't wait till someone's 10 years old or older to start treating. It doesn't mean that it's impossible, but it's a major uphill climb, The state's evidence was all statistics. If you look at this, does anybody not know why that's funny? 21% of the boys and 30% of the girls support me, therefore I'll get 51% of the vote. That's statistics. That's wrong, but that's the way the state presented it. Statistics don't win the day. What wins the day is actually researching actual people, looking at what we can find in the data. And I'm not a big fan of statistics because you can make them say whatever you want. The court's order at the end basically said that we established that ABA is a proven and effective treatment. And it will prevent disability and restore children to their best possible functional level and restore their developmental skills. And that was the test we had in our case. Now we're dealing with the order versus the weight. My understanding from talking with some of the therapists in the room and the behavior analysts, we still have a large waiting list out there. And so for those of you that are treating this, for those of you that are on a wait list, for those of you that have patients that you're trying to get in the door, Florida Legal Services of Greater Miami are organizations that can help. Right now, the next stage for the lawyers is to make sure that this isn't denied because the claim is it's not medically necessary for this particular individual, or we don't have enough therapists out there. So those are two organizations that really can help in our legal community to make sure people get this treatment. And I know I'm racing through, and I apologize, I'll be here for questions at the end, but I know we're a little behind, so I wanted to just make sure that everybody understood about the case. A lot of people may be aware that the state has appealed the decision. The good news on that is that the state is not appealing the finding that ABA is effective, and they're not appealing the finding that they're required to provide it by their rules. What happened was, without going to a long legal explanation, we sued on behalf of 3 autistic children to declare the state's rule invalid. Once you declare a rule invalid, it's invalid as to everybody. That's a matter of law. For those of you that are old enough to remember the civil rights era, and when we had individuals suing because state laws were invalid because they discriminated, those weren't class actions. It was one person suing to invalidate a law. Once the law is declared unconstitutional, it's unconstitutional as to everybody, not just the 3 children we sued on behalf of. So the state is making the argument that they should only have to give it to the 3 people. That's not going to fly. It's not what the law is. I'm not terribly concerned about that appeal, but that's the crux, because they're not fighting the underlying salient finding of the judge's ruling that ABA is a proven effective treatment for autism and that they are required to provide it. It's medically necessary for that individual. So with that, I just want to let everybody know that we are taking strides forward in the legal community to give this right to everybody. You're going to now hear from people that are the professionals who treat, who research this condition, who can tell you the steps that are being taken to move forward technologically, to move forward with better research, and hopefully we will always continue to take steps forward. And with that, if anybody has any questions, I'll be available afterwards. Feel free to email me, call me if there's any questions you have. If there's not time afterwards, later I will turn the podium over to you, and I hope I kept within my 10 minutes.
Absolutely, and thank you so much, Mr. Kazi. And to the extent that anybody would like to get a hold of Mr. Kazi and don't have a moment to write down his information, then please feel free to contact us, and we'll be happy to put you in contact with Mr. Kazi, who is really a champion